Hey there, welcome to the always possible to have a dog barking or a cat walking across the screen nooner with me, Dave LaMont. Thank you very much for joining us. There's a couple of things I wanted to get to today. And I guess the first thing has to be all of this DeShaun Watson babble that's come up in the last 36 hours or so, with now the Dolphins said to be the front runner. You know, the team that's all in on Tua Tagovailoa. Or are they? Or should they be? Or should they trade for Watson? Well, first off, Houston ain't getting what they want, which is 3 first-round picks and a couple of second-rounders. I don't know of any team that would trade for anybody currently in the NFL, maybe ever, for a guy like that, okay? He's a fine quarterback. But have we talked about the sexual assault complaints yet? Yeah. Now, that may be completely false, and you have to be fair here to Watson, because if they are, then his name is cleared, but it never will be. It won't ever be. You know that. This is going to stick with him, fairly or unfairly. This is going to be a part of his professional football legacy, all these charges against him. Even if he wins a Super Bowl or more than one, it's still going to be there. People talk about Deflategate, which is the dumbest thing ever invented. It's a scandal for dummies, and yet people still attach that to Tom Brady. Brady could win 4 more in a row, and he's going to be, but I bet they had deflated football. Well, this is a hell of a lot more serious than non-deflated footballs. So you have to look at it from that angle. Secondly, I thought the Dolphins were all in on Tua. That's what we've been told. So here's what this sounds like to me. I'm not doubting Charles Robinson, the guy from Yahoo, who's in the middle of this. It was his story. I'm not doubting he's heard things. What I'm guessing is it's probably DeShaun's agent leaking this stuff out. Who else? The Dolphins? The Texans? I don't see the Dolphins gaining anything by leaking this stuff out. To me, it could lead to a divided locker room. It could lead to a Watson or Tua locker room. Now, you're going to assume that Watson, who hasn't played this spring, this preseason, is going to be as good as he has been in the past. And he's great. If you can take all of the noise around him away, which you can't do, then of course you would trade for him. Houston doesn't want to have to pay him $10 million a year for not playing. He doesn't want to play for them, and I don't think they want him around either. So he's got to go. But what team is willing to take the possibility of him being guilty of these things? The FBI is investigating this stuff. What about your women fan base? Because it isn't all just a bunch of sweaty guys who drink 50 beers in the parking lot and stagger into the stadium who root for your team. There are plenty of female Dolphins fans. Now, do they care a lot? I don't know. But you have to at least give that some consideration, that you might piss off some of your fan base. You could say, but come on, Dave. As soon as this guy starts winning, then it's no problem. All is forgiven. And that may be true. I'll guarantee you some people will go, it's all right. And we, again, don't know if he's guilty. But obviously, if you acquire him, then you've got to ship Tua to Houston from both perspectives. You can't have Tua in the locker room anymore. And he needs to go someplace where he can play, and Houston could use him. So all of this we built ourselves around Tua was bullshit. If you trade him. If you keep him, then it's real. Don't read a thing into what Brian Flores said about we're just going to talk about players who were here. We don't get into speculation. All this stuff's internal. He answered the question as best as he wanted to. He gave you the answer that he wanted to give you. He strikes me as that kind of guy. He's sharp. So now it's just a waiting game. Because if you're Houston, you know you can't have this guy around. And by the way, the other downside of this is if it turns out that some of this stuff, all of it, a portion of it, whatever is true, then the NFL is going to come flying in hard, spikes up with discipline, suspensions, heavy. Well, the fines, that's not an issue, but the suspensions means playing time. That's an issue. So is it worth it? And what month were we talking about this before? And the funny thing is, nothing has really been resolved. And if it has been, the FBI and other law enforcement and the NFL are really doing a hell of a good job in keeping this a complete secret. But you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to give up? How much crap are you willing to take from people who are going to be mad at you? And does he still have the capability of turning you into an immediate contender? Well, hell, he's only 25 years old, so physically he's fine. Will he be the same football player with all of this around him? How will the locker room accept him? Now, again, sports being sports, winning is usually what matters. But you can't have a divided locker room. I don't know how much Tua has in this locker room, how much hand he has, how much control, how much leadership. And you have to be fair to Tua. If you really don't want him around, if you don't think he's good enough to carry you to the level you're looking to get to, then you do have to get rid of him and send him to Houston if indeed you do this. So even Drew Rosenhaus, by the way, who ought to know a few things about this, says he wouldn't be surprised, were his words, if when the season starts in a couple weeks, that the trade happens and that Watson will be here. And it's a gigantic gamble, because if it doesn't pay off with what you're looking for, which is a Super Bowl, or at least get to the game, it's been a while, then not only have you failed your football team, you've failed your fans, and you've put yourself in a position of looking bad. That's all there is to it. That's the only word I can think of. You look bad if you bring this guy in and he doesn't win, or doesn't win enough. He'll win, but will he win enough? He's got, former teammate of Will Fuller, who'll be back in week 5, who's a very, very good football player, a terrific receiver. The Dolphins are starting to show some signs of intelligent building. If their run game works out, which really has been an issue the last few years, then they could be very dangerous, because if they have the tools in place for passing game, especially if they get Watson. If. That's our job, though, to speculate. It's what we do, and it's what fans like to do. Am I in favor of the move? Gut instinct says no, because of all the baggage that's going to come along with it. And then you're not getting rid of that baggage. I don't care what you think. That baggage isn't going anywhere. And if he is found guilty, and if the league has to come in, and they will, then what? Exactly. So it's a huge gamble. Now, fortune favors the bold sometimes, although having been in casinos a lot over the last 5 or 6 years, not always. So my gut says no. If they make the deal, I understand why. You're not giving up 3 3s and 2 2s, or 3 1s and 2 2s, excuse me. You give them Tua 1 1 and 2 2s. Is that enough? I mean, Tua was a very high draft choice. Had a pretty decent preseason. Supposedly the guy. But any of you who've ever been broken up with by a woman or a man thought you were the person, only not to be. So I guess we just have to wait, don't we? Now, the other part of this, I wanted to confess something. And that's why I wrote in, I'm a lying liar who lies. This isn't anything serious, by the way. But I did something that I said I wasn't going to do. And that makes me, I don't know, you could say I just changed my mind. But I prefer to think of it as I lied. And who I lied to? Me. I don't know how to say it. Playing fantasy football this year. I know. There's nobody dumber than me. You don't even have to say it. I know. So the next question is, who got to me? who convinced me that a peaceful, happy retirement from fantasy football, where I could watch a game and not sweat over who got carries or why didn't the quarterback get 8 yards on that play when he supposedly got 7, or how come my defense can't stop anybody, or why did my kicker miss an extra point, or why isn't my running back getting touches at the goal line? All the silly, dumb stuff that I said I would never worry about again. And here I am. It's not even Godfather 3, just when I thought I was out, they sucked me back in. I could have said no. But one thing you'll learn about me, if you don't know me that well, is I am a very loyal person to my friends. If it's one thing I like about myself, and there ain't many, but one of them is I'm loyal. And if you talk to any of my friends, I think they will tell you I'm loyal. I'm loyal to brands, certain brands I like in the world. I'm loyal to friends. So when a friend asked 4 or 5 days ago if I would take the last spot on the fantasy football league that he's been running for 25 years, and they needed a guy at the last minute because so-and-so backed out, and I came to you first. You're the first person I thought of. And it's not much money. It's not a matter of cash. And I said yes. And I said yes, even with the fact that it's a keeper league, which I've never done before. It's not a points per reception league, which I've never done before, I don't think. And the real kick in the glands, it's a keeper league, and the guy I'm replacing kept Carson Wentz. If you look at the other rosters, you see people like Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers. I think he was still there. Pat Mahomes. Great players. I get Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is like the jigsaw puzzle that keeps getting unjigsawed. That's my keeper. And I still said yes. And I asked, is that the best he had? And apparently the answer to that was yes, it was the best he had. And I still said yes. Is it loyalty or stupidity? It's probably both. So that's why I'm a lying liar who lies. Now I'm back in. Now I've already made like 5 suggestions of what this league ought to do for next year, and worried about my backup running back position. And then my draft score comes in as a B-. I'm like, what the hell do you mean B-? So I get mad at that. I'm right back in, which probably means another year of not watching any football games and just doing this all the time. Oh, good. Oh, 3-yard gain. Okay, wait, that's 2 points. Okay, good. He's got over 30 yards now. Great. My quarterback. Okay, wait, how come we haven't had the ball? He's only thrown 5 passes. What? How come my guy's not getting targeted? Naturally, there's always somebody you should feel sorry for, and it's always the same person, my wife. 2 years ago, in her prior job, they did a year of fantasy football, and she was going to do it. She mentioned it to me. And we're eating dinner in a small, over at Riverside Market over in Plantation. We're having a bite and a beer. And I said, what time's your draft? Oh, it's at 8. And it was 7:20. I go, oh, we got to go. You got to draft. Oh, that's okay. No, we got to go right now. So we hurried our food, rushed home. I did the draft. Luckily, some ding-dong took Larry Fitzgerald with the first overall pick in the draft. And my wife ended up losing just one game and ripping everybody to shreds and winning the league. For that, she got a day off. I didn't get it, and I did all the work. But even that, with no money involved, boy, that's how competitive I am. That's why I want to stop. Now, should I mention the name of this friend? And he is a friend, and he's a great guy. And believe me, I wouldn't do it for some schmo. I won't mention his name. He knows who he is. But I'll say he's been on the show. How about that? And it's not Paul Castronovo, because he asked me on the air if I would play, and I said, no, I'm retired. And yet, like so many other great athletes of the past, and yes, I'm comparing myself to them, I have returned. Now, this does not mean that this little venture of mine, sponsorshipless, painfully expensive, that's not making me any money at all. Please, somebody, dear God, sponsor me. This does not mean this is going to turn into the 850,000th fantasy football show, because it ain't. And I'm going to do everything I can to not make this into the obsession that I made it, to where it ruined it. And it did ruin it. I'm too competitive. When I played, I may have told you a story before. This is how competitive I am. And this probably comes from not playing organized sports as a child, which I should have done. Because one of the things you learn how to do there is lose. True. It is. It's true. Well, it's been a while now, but I played in a 35 and over basketball league one summer. Again, guys 35 and older just hacking around, trying not to have coronaries while playing half-court basketball, or full court, but not really full court. And if we were losing, I would leave the gym before the buzzer so I wouldn't shake hands with the other guys. That is true. That's my competitive level. So you could see why I'm reluctant to get back into competition. Do you realize I never play golf for money? Now, I have enough of a problem with my temper on a golf course sometimes if I get too frustrated. So imagine if you threw money in that, $5, $10, even $20. Please. The last time I remember playing for any kind of money, at one point I had to get my driver out of a tree. So, how will I survive this year? I'll let you know. But, yeah. By the way, to answer your question, David, yes, I have to keep the player as one player, and because I'm inheriting his team. It'd be like if I was the new coach and I have to take the same players that were brought to me. Now, I can get rid of Carson Wentz if I want to. I'm going to give him a chance, although I'm not starting him in the first game. Yeah, everybody gets a keeper. That's just, and obviously, so I can't even imagine. Now, the rest of the team, you start from scratch, so I drafted the rest of the guys. I just have Wentz. So that's how it works. I understand that. I've never been in that kind of league, but I'm not worried about that. I drafted young. So either my little picks are going to be the ultimate in, I'm blanking on the name, but not potential, but there's the Jay Billis word, not wingspan, but I'll think of it. But if they come through with their potential, then I'll end up having an okay season. If they don't, then I don't. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Still kind of hot about that B- rating, though. Tell you who didn't get drafted in our league: DeShaun Watson. Or did he? See what I'm saying? Look how casual I am about this. I didn't even pay attention. I wasn't going to take him. Too much risk. Just like I wouldn't take him now. All right. I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful week. And I believe we will talk on Friday.